Hi there, my name is Myah Anderson, and today I'm going to talk about my experience with Key Kids. To start by introducing myself, I'm going to talk about my identity. I have many things that I identify as. To name a few, I'm a white heterosexual female from the lower middle class. I am also able-bodied and I have no disabilities. Two identities that I would like to focus on are the fact that I am female and I am able-bodied / I don't have any disabilities. For as long as I can remember, I have identified as a girl. I knew that I was a girl, so was my sister, and my brothers were boys. It wasn't until about late middle school that I learned that a person can be born one gender and identify as another later in life. I'm lucky to have gone to a school where I was exposed to the LGBTQIA+ community. I'm from Andover, Minnesota, which is a suburb of the Twin Cities. It's a primarily white area, and the schools that I went to were about 90% white. I attended local public schools. Another identity I would like to focus on is my lack of disabilities. This isn't typically one of the first identities of myself that would come to mind, but it is relevant in my case study. As noted in the article Social Construction of Difference, identifying as disabled or non-disabled is indeed a social construct. We have created a normal in our society, and in turn labels are given to those who might not fit those so-called norms. Labels are not to be used to sum up the entirety of a person, but just maybe the part of them that might not be understood by the outsider. In class, we talked a lot about person-first language, and I think that it is very important that we see the child before we see a label or disability. When I was in second grade, we had a boy in my class who misbehaved and got angry more than the other students did. He would disrupt the class and bother the other kids, including me. I remember one day when we were playing a gym game outside, I remember the boy had ripped a ball out of my friend's hand and screamed at her for taking it. I ran up to defend my friend. I can't remember what I said, but I remember screaming at him until he violently threw the ball at the ground and ran inside screaming. It was a really intense situation for everyone involved. I remember later that day I got sent down to the principal's office. When talking to the principal, it was almost as if I was the one in trouble. I was just defending my friend, right? He was the one who took the ball and got aggressive. The principal then explained to me that the boy in my class wasn't just a naughty kid. He said that some kids have a harder time controlling their feelings. Some kids take longer to control themselves and have to work much harder than I do. It's just the way some brains work. It didn't mean that he was any less of a person, it just meant he needed a little more time and help than other kids. He said that it was my job to make sure that we don't let situations escalate like they did today. And the best thing that I can do in a situation like that is stay calm. I was a little confused, but it definitely helped me understand a little bit why this boy acted the way he did sometimes. Looking back, I remember my principal didn't explicitly tell me that the boy had ADHD or an emotional behavior disorder or whatever he may have had. He just described to me like he was just a kid, because the label wasn't important to either of us. As I got older, I learned more about disabilities and how to be aware of them and how we can work well with people who have them. My situation is different. I learned that some people might not be able to learn as fast as I can. Some people react to situations differently than I would. This understanding only became deeper, and now I am here, and the kids with disabilities are part of the reason why I want to be a teacher. This ties in nicely to my experience at Key Kids. At Key Kids, I met so many nice kids and built a lot of relationships with many of them. But there was one boy in particular that I want to focus on, and we can say his name is Will. That's not his real name. I didn't meet Will until my second day at Key Kids. This was his first time there. The site lead introduced him to the rest of the kids. He was a kindergartner. He seemed to get along with a lot of kids, and he knew a lot of kids who were already there. I sat next to him during snack time, and I learned an interesting fact about him. While some of the older kids were reading jokes on the milk cartons, he started reading one of the jokes. I was a little interested because he was a kindergartner, and the joke was a little above his typical reading level. I commented on it, and he told me that he was reading at a level Q, and he continued to read bigger words on the milk carton to prove it to me. He read fast and clear with very good articulation. After snack, we played a few different games of tag, and I learned another thing about Will. We started playing games that he might have been unfamiliar with. During the game, he wanted to call T, as in timeout, on himself, so that he wouldn't get tagged. I noticed when this happened, some of the other kids, the older ones, would calmly try to tell him that wasn't how the game worked. and that those rules didn't apply here. He argued with the kids until he got so angry that he started to scream and cry. I stepped in and told the kids to give him a little bit of space, and then he ran off and cried. He quickly regained his confidence and rejoined the game. The same kind of situation happened again when we played a different game. He didn't seem to understand these games, and he didn't have a great way to express his frustration. After further investigation with the site lead, I was able to confirm that Will was gifted and that he had an emotional disorder. My identity differs from Will in the sense that he has an emotional behavior disorder and I do not. Because of our differences, I know that he handles situations differently than I do. Another situation happened another day where some girls took a hula hoop he was trying to play with and he yelled and screamed at them. I tried to get them to play together, but he screamed even more and eventually ran away and laid on the floor. Later, I saw that one of the girls went up to him and asked him to play with them. He got up and played with them very nicely, and I thought that it was a really nice moment. This moment made me think of the article, Seeing the Child, Not the Disability. It talked about how people with disability, that many people will see a disability of a child before they see just the child. This moment was so interesting to me because these girls were accepting and forgiving of Will. They didn't see him as the kid who screamed at him. They saw him as a fellow kindergartner who could play with them and have fun with them. My experience with Will helped me develop an identity for him, so here he is. This is Will. He is a 6-year-old white male. He's gifted, and he also has an emotional behavior disorder. Beyond this concrete identity, I recognize that Will is just a kid who likes basketball, bugs, and puzzles. I got to build a really solid relationship with Will in the time that I was at Key Kids. This whole experience has been a really hands-on learning experience on how to see the child before you see the disability. There's good in every child, and we must always remember that.